So the whole popping a cassette tape into the boombox and banging your head off the wall, that was all part of an invocation, I guess, right? So my big burning question after the finale is, what's the memory that Uncle George has tucked away in his brain that involves him having a great time listening to Love Shack? Hey guys, Pete here. Today I'm going to do my best to explain the ending of Servant Season 2. It's the kind of show you expect a twist in, and we did get that, although it was a little bit different than what I was expecting, and all in all, it turned out to be pretty satisfying. A quick spoiler warning, if you haven't completed Season 2 in its entirety yet, then this video won't be for you. It'll definitely spoil it. So go watch it and then come back, and hit the subscribe button while you're here so you won't lose your way. With that said, let's get started. Servant's a great looking show with a great cast, a really interesting premise that the whole thing basically takes place in this townhouse, and it's a show that relies heavily on mystery. Season 1 played with the idea that there were all these inexplicable things that kept happening, which could all possibly be explained with rational explanations, or there could be something supernatural going on. It made for some fun in guessing what was happening, but also made you worry that it might go down the road of endless red herrings continuing to pile mysteries on top of more mysteries. In Season 2, we started to get a steady stream of answers. Primarily that yes, Leanne does have powers. It also took the Turner family in a direction that makes it difficult to have any sympathy for them heading into the finale. Sure, Dorothy has real issues that stem from a horrible thing that happened to her real-life son, Jericho. But now she's taken a teenage girl prisoner. She's waking up in the middle of the night and torturing her. She buried her alive. And the people closest to her, her brother Julian and her husband Sean, refused to tell her the truth and bring things to an end. The second season shifts from a family dealing with a tragedy to a group of bad people making bad decisions in order to try to get a child that they know isn't theirs to begin with back in order to keep a lie going. It also fills in the details of Leanne's awful childhood. She had a self-centered, abusive mother who would never give her what she craved most, her acceptance and love. Even with the king cake, her mother always found the baby so that she could say she was special and use that as a reason to put Leanne down. Even though now we see that Leanne is in fact special, she's still in search of a mother's love. And in the end, that does turn out to be the big twist. Despite everything that happened, despite her concerns that Dorothy was incapable of taking care of the baby, her act of saving Leanne fulfilled that desire, and now Leanne wants to stay with the Turners and create a family. So to recap what happened in the finale, it does pick up right where episode 9 left off. Aunt Josephine at the front door with the Betamax machine in tow, and Leanne watching from Jericho's room holding the doll. Sean and Dorothy let her in. She tries to comfort Dorothy, who really only wants the baby back. And when they ask about Aunt May and Uncle George, she says they're not involved in this anymore. Dorothy agrees to let her talk to Leanne, and when she hears that Leanne wants to stay there, she assures her that they don't love her. And we get the idea that as confused as Leanne is, the idea of going back to the Church of the Lesser Saints doesn't sound like a great idea. At the same time, it's clear that they still have some power over her. Aunt Josephine goes to tell Dorothy that her and Leanne are leaving tonight, but tells her that she made a promise that she wants to keep. So she hands her the onesie that we saw back in Season 1, and when asked, she says it's the truth. And it almost looks like Dorothy's going to wake up here. She's going to remember what happened. She locks herself in the room. We see that Sean's phone stops working, and then he gets locked in the other room, and it starts to look like Leanne isn't the only person in the house who has powers. Probably my favorite thing in the finale on the first watch was the Betamax. It definitely gave off some Lost Dharma Initiative vibes. And Aunt Josephine showing her this as a warning about what will happen if she doesn't ask for forgiveness. So now we understand what Uncle George was doing in Love Shack. There's an invocation, a consecration, and then an emancipation. And essentially this is something that they need to do when one of their members leaves the cult or loses their way. The fact that he talks about taking out their eyes makes it sound like this is what Roscoe saw when he was with them. We heard him talking about taking out the eyes and throwing them away when he was hypnotized. And I don't know about you, but if it was me, I would definitely do whatever Aunt Josephine said in order to avoid this ritual. And at first, that is what Leanne does. But things fall apart when Leanne won't say that she'll forget Dorothy Turner. Aunt Josephine says it's a sin to covet someone, even a mother. And then she splashes her in the eyes with the liquid from the wooden box and goes downstairs to start the invocation, listening to Pennies from Heaven and stabbing herself repeatedly in the thigh with a fork. Really fun stuff. Dorothy is not having fun. She's actually decided that she's going to kill herself. And it leads to a pretty emotional conversation between her and Sean. As a couple people who have been consistently making bad decisions and doing bad things, it was a little surprising how much this scene actually worked. Downstairs, Leanne has made it to the basement. Aunt Josephine is pursuing. She tries to escape, it doesn't work. And now that the invocation has been completed, Aunt Josephine continues with the ritual, which involves a gruesome slashing of the limbs. To everyone's surprise, Dorothy shows up, hits her with a shovel, and saves Leanne. And for this, Leanne says, look, she wanted you to think he's gone. He's not gone. I'm going to bring him back to you. It's what Dorothy has been waiting to hear. When she leaves, we hear Leanne say she protected me like I'm her daughter. And again, this really landed like a gut punch. Think about how bad your relationship with your family had to be, how bad of an experience being with the cult would have to have been in order for you to still really want Dorothy to be your mother. And Josephine's down, but she's not out. She does come back as Leanne is heating the knife over the pyre that she lit, the one that Uncle George left there a couple episodes back. But in the end, Leanne gets the upper hand. She stabs her right through the eye, and we don't see it. It happens off screen, but it looks like she throws her on the fire, and then one way or another gets her upstairs where we see her charred body in the crawl space between the walls. After everything that happened, Sean is finally ready to tell Dorothy the truth. He's right there. It's the next thing he's about to say. And of course, Dorothy doesn't want to hear anything. She's just waiting for the baby to come back. And she turns on the baby monitor and she hears Leanne singing. So they go into the baby's room and lo and behold, there she is. She's wearing a coat and she's holding the baby in her arms and she gives him to Dorothy. There's really no explanation of how she did this. The fact that she's wearing the coat makes it look like she went outside after stashing Aunt Josephine's body, however she did that. But at this point, it really doesn't matter because, yeah, she has powers. So something related to her powers made this all possible. The big takeaway is that she says now we can be a family. So Dorothy gets what she wants. She gets the baby back. And what she wants is what Sean wants, basically. And Leanne's been saved by Dorothy, which translates to her as a mother's love. The little girl inside her, the pageant contestant, the one who saw Dorothy and imagined this wonderful mother who was so much better than her own, has decided to leave the cult behind and make this her family. It's not a happy ending, though. We hear her say, I don't know why I keep doing bad things. I can feel the dark thing inside me getting bigger. We see the lights flicker in the room, in the house, and then we see that go down the block. She says, I'm tired of everyone telling me what's wrong with me. Maybe there's nothing wrong. Maybe this is who I am. And then she says, I know how this works. I know they're coming from me. Don't worry, I'll be ready. I know killing you, referring to Aunt Josephine, started a war. And so season 2 ends with the answer that yes, Leanne has powers. And the question becoming then, where do these powers come from? We've seen both Uncle George and Aunt Josephine appear to have some powers of their own. Does that mean everyone in the cult has that? And probably more importantly, where does that power come from? We hear them refer to a him, and the easy answer there is that they're referring to a god, but perhaps there is an actual person, someone above Aunt Josephine, that we're going to meet next season. A pretty healthy balance of answered questions and ongoing mystery. I definitely like the idea that the big question shifts to being more about Leanne, about who she is, how she has these powers, what she's capable of, than just being about Jericho. I thought they did a pretty good job of circling back and pulling on some of those threads that have been dangling there since the beginning. I think there's a pretty good chance that Julian got Leanne pregnant. We didn't see any Julian in the finale, and them getting together seems like it's going to have implications. I would say Uncle George probably survived getting hit by the car. I doubt we've seen the last of him. When we first saw Aunt Josephine's face in the basement, I initially thought when I saw the scarring, what looked like a burn on her face, that perhaps she was Leanne's birth mother. With more thought, though, that doesn't seem very likely. There's quite a few other options, considering her connection with the cult. It could be that she was there when that fire that Dorothy covered happened, or it could be the fact that they do all this kind of violent stuff. So I don't think it was hinting that she was Leanne's mother. What does war look like between the cult and the Turner family? Where are things going to go next? I think it's the kind of finale that gives me hope that the rest of the series will be interesting. We know that they've already started filming season 3 and that they're planning on doing 4 seasons total. And I'm excited to see where it goes. And I think I'll leave it there. So let me know in the comments what you thought about the finale, what you thought about season 2 in general, and all your theories about where you think things go from here. Please like this video if you enjoyed it. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Thanks for watching. I'll talk to you soon.